600 foot-pounds, that's what I apply. Anyway, thank you very much. The only other thing is, as one of the supervisors mentioned, that they haven't forgot about me, and I know you haven't because I'll be here. And that is, I'm just a little not happy with the pecking order. 67 years we've been waiting. Instead of being 31 in line, I think we need to be first in line at this time. Secondly, being the unfunded pension liabilities for the county. And so anyway, have a nice week and thank you for your time. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Next up, we have Stephen Danbeck.
I'm here to solicit your help in working with the North Yuba Water District. I know you have no jurisdiction, but I do believe that their current actions are very detrimental, not only to your general mission, but to specific objectives that you have in the Economic Development Strategic Plan. First of all, there is water. I've been a customer for 40 years, worked at the largest ag development on the district, and we saw lots of water go by, passed us down to downstream customers. There's never been a pipe, and there's still been plenty of water. The board says that the problem is South Feather, but South Feather says that they have plenty of water. They just said a week ago that they've got 24 CFS, that we can have most of it, and they would even facilitate its delivery. So there's water. What the district alleges is that we don't have real need, that it's somehow outside agitation that comes to their boards and asks for water. But you guys know that's not true. You're all aware of our initiative with Yuba County to develop a strategic plan for building a food hub. You probably also all know about the YOLO Food Hub's wish to collaborate with us. And the Blue Zones project's wish to have us part of their food policy development. You may or may not know that the Yuba-Sutter Food Bank is now working with us, the biggest contract that you can imagine, and we're scrambling to meet that need. We have real farmers up there. If we have water, we can deliver. We cannot pump. We're already lowering our wells for domestic service. We need the surface water. We deserve the surface water. And I believe that if you will help us, that we can contribute not only to the prosperity of the foothills, but also down here in Marysville and throughout Yuba County, provides food security as we are already through the food bank. And if we don't get the water, all of this is compromised. If we do get the water, we're working hand in hand with you on your objectives for the economic development of Yuba County. You guys have a reputation for effectiveness, for ethics, for community service, and you also have a reputation for creativity, which is what I would like to tap. I know it won't be easy for you to find solutions. There are people who will go hand in hand with you, and I'm hoping you will lean in and be creative and help us find solutions to grow our crops and to work with you to grow Yuba County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Charles Sharp.
Thank you. Good morning, Charles Sharp, Oregon House. I hope everybody is doing well today. I want to thank you for the opportunity to have participated in the recent planning session at the or special planning session at the warm and cozy F Street offices. I'm looking forward to the history video. The agency does many things, but you are primarily in the business of public safety. Your first task is to keep the levees as high as possible and the Yuba River as low as possible. 200-year flood protection means in 200 years, there is a 0.05% probability of the levers failing and putting Director Furer's business 5 feet underwater. Gentlemen, none of you are qualified to challenge the engineers on what they recommend the agency needs to do to reduce the risk of a levee failure and the ensuing flood. Predicting the future is risky business, and whatever the agency can do to reduce the risk, you must do, or risk being put out of business. But wait, there's more. Recently, several articles about the troubled North Yuba Water District, an agency in your own backyard, so to speak, have been published in the Appeal Democrat. Since 2017, the agency has granted the district over $800,000. Along with those grants comes the responsibility that your money is spent carefully and sensibly. In its March newsletter, the district had lied about the capacity of its restrictive piping project. Here's the newsletter, saying it can convey 23,700 acre feet for irrigation when this is not physically possible for 24 cubic feet per second flow. The newsletter also says the State Resources Control Board curtailed the district's water in 2021. This did not happen. The agency has no more control over what the North Yuba Water District does or what it says in its newsletter than I do. However, you can express an opinion. My opinion is not worth much, but as elected officials, your opinion carries great weight with the people. Gentlemen, what is your opinion about a water district that tells falsehoods to the public? This is kind of a breaking news. It says Browns Valley is cutting off water or slowing it down because their lake, Collins Lake, is not so full. So I just want to include that in an effort to conserve water and extend the irrigation season. BVID has shut off irrigation water as of April 14th. BVID, the North Yuba Water District, South Feather, and the Yuba Water Agency all need to collaborate for a regional solution to reliable water in the foothills. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Charles. Okay, next up is Carolyn McCall. Morning.
Morning. Thank you for allowing us to speak. I don't know where to start. I've written so many things and so many pages and articles, and I'm just at my wit's end at this point. I feel like I'm going to lose my ranch. I don't feel like I can go on, and I need help to try and get us irrigation water. I know that the North Yuba Water District was started by ranchers and farmers, and I just feel like it's being taken away from us. Dry Creek is full right now. I mean, it's just gushing down, and we're being denied it. I can't help but feel like there's backroom deals going on. I don't know what to think anymore. I'm just very frustrated, and I just want you guys to do everything you can to get to the bottom of this. Please help us. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have several online, sir.
Okay.
We'll start with Colette. If you'll unmute. Ma'am, unmute your microphone. There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning. My name is Colette Chevalier, and I'm French born, but a US citizen. I live in Oregon House, where water is scarce. You all know that. I'm only repeating what many of us are saying in not so many words. Water is scarce, trees are dying, wells are losing their yield, and the threat of fires is around us almost permanently, but for a few months. With water, we can have a green belt, we can grow crops for farmers to grow and for us to enjoy, and also to make our communities prosperous. Firemen can draw water from the lakes and ponds to put out fires, and the green belt is the added protection against fires. Communities who lack water cannot flourish. We need the water, and there is water, we know it. And yet with all of that, water definitely available, it is denied us by our water district, the North Yuba Water District. We've been trying for years to persuade the board and general manager to act in the interest of the public, but they consider that the North Yuba District is a private business, which they can rule as they wish, and therefore deprive us of this precious water. I join my voice to that of all the others in the community to ask you to please help in any way you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one, we have Mariachi.
Thank you very much. Marieke Vernet. Before I say anything about water, I would like to mention fire danger and your forest restoration plan and congratulate you on receiving federal funds from Secretary Vilsack. This is wonderful, something to celebrate and be proud of. Also, it shows your skill with partnerships, negotiation, and collaboration. These skills are now needed for Northern Yuba County. As you know, our local water district just let us know less than a day before the irrigation season would start via an obscure little note in their webpage that there will not be a delivery again this year, 0%. I was afraid of this, I saw it coming, and it happened. There was no meeting about this, no decision by the board, no public comment, no discussion, no presentation by staff, no warning, just a note. And a note with lots of falsehoods at that. I will unpack a few. 12 CFS minimum requirement for irrigation is false. In 2012, the ditch ran a full delivery with around 7 CFS per month diverted, according to the progress reports delivered to the State Water Resources Control Board. South Feather's recent offer to draw down demand, intentionally making room for North Yuba's irrigation customers, is misrepresented in the note. This offer leaves 7 to 8 CFS in the ditch available for our irrigation. This is enough to run the system. The restrictive pipe is certainly not the only solution. South Feather's offer to clean the ditch is 15 times cheaper and doubles capacity. One of the North Yuba directors recently said this in a meeting, and I quote, "We follow a business interest of the entity called North Yuba Water District. It is not our business if some business out there is or isn't going under." Can you imagine saying that to the rice farmers? And can you imagine Carolyn McCall hearing that? North Yuba has gone rogue. This is a quote from South Feather. They said it last year, and therefore we come to you today. North Yuba does not care about us, and you do. I have heard that and seen that. Please help us. I know you can, and I trust that you want to, and I side with Stephen Dembeck in trusting your creativity. We are Yuba County too, and we have nowhere else to turn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go with Gretchen Floor.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing us all to speak today. I wanted to come from a slightly different perspective. As you're all aware, I was the elected director for Division 4. I held that position until I relocated. I moved to Grass Valley, and at which time I was forced to resign. But I would like to mention that, as you're all aware, I ended up having to sue North Yuba Water District because records I was requesting, even as a director, were not being provided to me. And one of the things that is a big mystery to me still is why North Yuba Water District is spending over $100,000 a month to sue South Feather. I frequently asked for proof of wrongdoing. North Yuba had hired this company called Provost and Pritchard. They hired a bunch of attorneys. Dan Stouter was another attorney that was hired. All these people have been getting paid tens of thousands of dollars over the last 2 years, and not a single shred of evidence has been produced that South Feather had actually mispaid North Yuba Water District. And yet this is the reason that North Yuba stands today and continues to state, we can't possibly sit down with South Feather. We're suing them. And all I can tell you from my perspective as a director, having never been given a shred of evidence to the contrary, there is absolutely no grounds for which this lawsuit should have happened or continued. That being said, our community has wells going dry. We have ranchers and farmers selling up and moving out. We are losing valuable resources to this community, all due to this one agency that refuses to do its job. They have one job: deliver water to the community. It's a public agency. It's not a business. It's there to serve the public. And so in this situation we have this year, South Feather made a generous offer last year to repair the ditches in 5 days. They could get the ditch capacity up 33% with only a 10% loss, which is an acceptable loss for earthen channels. The money was going to come out of the $709,000 that South Feather pays North Yuba every single year, that is only supposed to be spent on Forbes-Town and Oregon House Dobbins Canal maintenance, but never has. In all the years since Jeff Maupin came in as general manager, the $709,000 has just gone into their pockets. Before the revenues from South Feather, North Yuba had an average revenue of about $500,000 a year. Today, their operating budget for a staff of 7 is $1 million in salaries and benefits. And none of that goes to maintain the infrastructure to deliver water. So South Feather offered to do the ditch repair using that money. And
Dr. Flora, if you could please wrap up.
So $250,000 a year for the next 3 years would get us to 50 CFS. They would still get almost $500,000 to do what they wanted, buy some more shiny trucks, and we would get our water. Please do everything you can to never, ever give money to North Yuba Water District again, as long as appointed people are on the board and Jeff Maupin is general manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
2 more, Mr. Chair. Mr. Perla.
Thank you for letting us speak. This is Rulik Perla from Oregon House, and I'll try not to repeat what my friends and colleagues and neighbors have said, but I really appreciate that you let us speak. And as we said, we appreciate what you are doing. You have an example agency that does so much for the community. And it's not that we enjoy coming here. You have time to do other things. We are wasting your time. But unfortunately, the problem is not solved, and we are not going away, because if water is not coming, our community will be destroyed. Like we said, wells are getting dry, people are losing their businesses, and fires are danger and danger and danger. I want to repeat again, they don't let us speak in the North Yuba meeting. And like was said, they are gone rogue. I mean, the idea of a board is that it is supervise the manager. The board tell the manager what to do. But in our board, they are just following, if at all, what the manager tells them to do. And as you probably know the details, none of them is elected. There is one of the board that is kind of elected, but they gerrymandered the map. So where he's elected is not where he is. So really, it's a board that is run by the manager, and the manager calls all the shots. The point is that it destroys the name of the county, and it reflects badly on you as Yuba Water Agency, on you as Yuba County supervisors. And it's a shame, because things are going well and could go even better. But by now, you know, the public started to get interested. The newspapers started to get interested. So it's published in the Appeal Democrat, and soon it will be in the statewide journals. And really, it's a shame to see these leaking tanks and to see this behavior that is not according to the law. It's not bringing anything good to our reputation. So I thank you again for all the support. I know you've showed interest and support, and now is the next step. I do believe, like everybody said, that it is in your power, even if it's not the direct hierarchy of command, it is in your power as the leaders of our county to make a change here. And again, we are not going to go away, because we need the water. So please, please, use your influence, use your powers to remove this embarrassing situation. And what we need is a regional solution. It's really a shame that we have in such a small and poor county so many regional water boards. I mean, you should be managing all
Mr. Perla, please wrap up.
Thank you. I am. Thank you for listening. I'm done.
Thank you.
Take one more, Mr. Chair. Clay Campbell, please.
Yes, thank you very much for having me and giving me an opportunity to speak once more. I'm relatively new to the community, and I have heard so many things today that I was going to bring up. I won't repeat like the previous gentleman. I will say that I personally have tried to reach out to this manager at the North Yuba Water. Every time I call that office, he's never available. They all take a message. They promise that he'll return my call. I inquire when he'll be in the office. Perhaps I could meet him then. I think I get the feeling they're told he cannot, or he's told them that he does not want to meet with the public, but they never tell me when he's going to be in. They say they don't know his schedule. I've sent emails to the directors, and although it's only been one email to each of the directors, I have had no response from any of them to date. As I said, being relatively new to this community, it was very obvious to me that you look around as I drive to Chico and go about my daily business. South Feather has water, Brownsville has water, Placer County Water takes care of Placer County, Yuba County Water, your agency, does a great job. And we have this bone dry area up around here that has no water flowing. I've been coming up here for well over 25 years. I have friends that live next to my location, and I recall the days when water used to flow through the ditches, and things were a little greener then, but not so much anymore. So as I learn more, as I live in this community a little longer, I plan to get it much more involved in helping this community get the water that we deserve. And so thank you very much. And I look forward to you folks hopefully doing some good things on behalf of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Consider finding by a majority vote under Government Code 54953E3 that as a result of the continuing COVID-19 emergency, that the board has reconsidered the circumstances of the state of emergency. The board reviews prior findings that meeting fully in person would continue to present imminent risks to the health and safety of attendees, and the authorization for meetings to be held by teleconference pursuant to Government Code 54953E1 is renewed. Any?
Chair, I would just note that, the masks were taken off in the airplanes yesterday. So we just keep getting further away from an emergency and we keep renewing, and I'm having a difficult time with it. I'll leave it at that. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Any public comment on this item?
There's none online, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McWhorter, perhaps.
Morning again, directors. You state that the only reason, or it appears that the main factor driving the utilization of the Zoom meeting system is this emergency. Why can't we just end the emergency and make this Zoom regular part of the water agency meeting process? And that way we can all stop kidding ourselves and say, hey, the emergency is over, done with. As the director mentioned, the FAA or the CDC and the masks are off airplanes. Let's just kind of, the genie's out of the bottle. Everybody knows what's going on. So maybe we could just end the emergency resolution for this process and make it a regular part of the process.
Sure. So I'll just let you know real quick. There is nothing that prevents us from offering the ability to the public to attend the meeting via Zoom, even without this resolution.
This was accomplished prior to the COVID?
Well,
I'm unaware,
but current state law has restrictions in place that would prevent or add additional requirements, I guess is the right word, for board members to attend the meeting via Zoom. And so this continues to allow board members to participate that way. So that is the main reason why the board is considering it at this time. There is legislation that the state is considering to change the law so that board members could participate remotely without those additional requirements, but that has not yet been passed and is not yet law. And so that is why we continue to consider this so that the board members may have that option.
Okay,
So,
I would not be in favor of that, but because I think you being here is an
well,
important thing.
We're not going to do back and forth. You asked a question and I answered your question. So thank you. Okay, is there a motion from the board? Okay, is there a second? Okay, without a second, motion dies.
I'll second it.
Oh, we have a second. We have a second.
Wait, you already called it.
So
I have a first and a second.
You do. So roll call vote, please.
Start with Director Blazer.
All right, yes.
Thank you, Director Bradford.
Yes.
Director Hasty.
No.
Director Vasquez.
Yes.
Director Matthews.
Yes.
Director Fuhrer.
I am excited to lend my vote to Mr. Hasty and vote no.
Understand. Thank you, Director Fletcher. Director Fletcher.
So I think we have come to that point when in real person is the way to go. My vote's no.
That still passes 4-3, sir.
Okay.
You're close.
I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
I thought it was there. I was really happy.
Next up, consent items. So the board may take any necessary additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda and approve consent items with a single vote. The board member, thank you.
Moved.
Thank you. Have a first and a second. Any public comment on consent items? Okay. Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we'll be moving on to discussion items. First item is item number 2, receive a presentation from Lieutenant Colonel Mick Cameron regarding Beale Air Force Base community-based interaction.
Good morning, board. I just wanted to introduce Lieutenant Colonel Mick Cameron. He probably looks or sounds familiar to you because he has joined us via Zoom in the past when we've discussed community impact efforts with Beale and all of our partners in the county. And so we welcome the Lieutenant Colonel back today to give us an update on that. Lieutenant Colonel Cameron, it's all yours.
Thank you for that introduction and thank you for the time to speak with you today. It's been very informative for me to listen to this group also presenting some of the concerns in the community and just how important water is to all of us and what the community can do to help us solve some of these issues. I'd just like to take a few brief moments to talk to you about the community involvement and the importance of your partnership with Beale Air Force Base and the military in general. If you could go to the next slide, please. So just a quick overview. I'm going to talk a little bit about it, just an introduction of myself and kind of a background to give you a snapshot of what military life is like for most people, and then talk about career progression for military officers. I'll talk through what's in the future for me, and then how all this ties to Beale's mission, and then ultimately the importance of community support as we work together with the military and our local communities. Next slide, please. So just a quick look at my career. In the past 18 years, I've been in the Air Force. I've served in 11 different bases, and in 2 more months, I'll be moving to my 12th. And you can see the list of bases there on the left side of your screen. But one thing that you might notice is Beale Air Force Base is populated in there multiple times. And for members of the Beale Air Force Base community, we call it the Recce community. All roads lead back to Beale. So we might go away for a little bit of time, but we come back to Beale, and that's our home. And we spend a lot of time there. And so the local community is important, and all these issues that have been discussed today are important to us as members of that community. For my family, I've got my oldest son is 10. He'll be moving into his 7th home and his 10 years of life here in 2 months. So moving is a big part of our life. But like I said, Beale is where our heart is. Next slide. I was asked to talk a little bit about career progression for military members. And if you look at this slide, this is something the Air Force put together. This is for the typical Air Force officer that is serving at Beale, that serves in a reconnaissance mission. And these are the different steps we have to take throughout our career as we progress in the rank. And the yellow arrow there is where I'm sitting right now, about the 18.5-year point. And I'm currently serving in a pretty unique and exciting opportunity. I'm attending what we call senior developmental education. So I'm right now at the Army War College in Pennsylvania, going through school right now. And a lot of this year is focused on how the military participates with all the rest of government, from the State Department to Department of Interior, and just how we partner with all those around us. Last week, I had the opportunity to spend a day with FEMA talking about really some issues that are a big impact to California right now, with the water that's been discussed today, with fires that have also been mentioned. And we've talked a lot about the changing climate patterns and impacts of weather on our country, and how the military partners in that, and how we're also part of the whole government approach to trying to solve these issues. So a lot of the officers that you deal with at Beale are in that yellow arrow and to the left. So a lot of members of the community are in the probably about first 20 years of their career. And then we go off to training like I'm at right now to try and make us more holistic part of the government, not just focused on the military, but how we can partner with all the U.S. government. And then after that, if we're fortunate, we get to come back to Beale and be in leadership positions. Right now, we've got Colonel Fox running the wing at Beale, and she'll be replaced this summer with Colonel Church, who will be taking over and kind of moving this partnership forward. Next slide, please. For me, after I finish up this year at the Army War College, I'm headed to Korea, and I'll be running all the operations and plans for air forces, both the United States and the Republic of Korea's air forces in the Korean Peninsula. And our focus there is really on defending both the U.S. homeland from any North Korean aggression, and defending the people of the Republic of South Korea from any aggression from North Korea. We're also working to keep an eye on China and to make sure our U.S. interests in the Pacific are guaranteed. And that all ties back to Beale if you go to the next slide. So the things that Beale Air Force Base does around the globe, this is just one area. So right now, today, we have both U-2s and RQ-4s that are operated from either personnel or actually from Beale that are in Korea and in the Pacific doing the mission to keep the United States safe. And so the job that I'll be having will be using Beale U-2 assets that are actually on the ground in Korea to work together and keep our homeland secure. And if you go to the next slide, this is really the most important thing. The importance of this community, especially for members of Beale, is extremely important. As many of you know, Beale is the largest employer in the state of California, from Sacramento north to Oregon. So the largest majority of the people that are employed in that area come from Beale Air Force Base. For our families, what we're looking for, and many of the people that have spoken today have talked about this too, we're looking for security for our families, and that comes in the form of affordable housing, good schools, places to work, kind of boiled down to work, wind down, and worship. We're looking for places that we can be plugged in, a part of that community. Something that's changed in the U.S. military in the past decade or so is that traditionally the spouses were homemakers. Currently, 1 million military spouses are employed, and 85% of those spouses are looking for work or want to work. And then most of the military spouses, 86% of the spouses, have at least a bachelor's degree. So they're looking for jobs in the local community. Because of our frequent moves that I discussed, military spouses earn typically 25% less than their counterparts that are in the community, because the community knows they're going to be transient and they can afford to pay them less So it's important for us as military members to find those places of employment. And then for our children, you can look at the number there, but it's staggering. Over 1 million DoD kids around the United States are attending public schools. For me, what that looked like in my experience at Beale is I was actually living in Plumas Lake my last time there, and my children were zoned for the Cobblestone Elementary School that at the time had more children than there were spaces available. So we ended up changing district to Sutter County from Yuba County to attend a different school there, where there was more better teacher to student ratio and more educational opportunities for my children. So as a military member, what we're looking for in our community is places we can plug in, but also places where we can afford our families the opportunities to have the education and the employment that they're looking for. And it's all really based on a partnership. And I know that in the next 2 days that the Yuba Water Agency and Beale Air Force Base and some of our local institutions are going to be signing a memorandum of understanding to solidify this relationship. But for me, I think it's very important that the leaders at Beale and then the entities like yourself at the Water Agency work together and communicate so we can understand what both of us need, and we can use that combined interest of the largest employer in the area and one of the most progressive and forward-leaning organizations in the area to move forward and try and help improve the community for all the issues that have been talked about today, so we can solve some of these problems cooperatively together. And with that, I would just like to turn over to any questions anyone has. And once again, I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Questions, comments from board members?
Yes. Colonel, have we ever gotten delivered to you a map of the current development in South Yuba County? I have one in my car, and I'd like to drop it off to your office if that's still possible. There's any number of new changes to the development in Yuba County. You might be interested.
Yes, sir. I've seen one. It's probably about almost a year old at this point. I'm not
This is a new one.
Okay. I'm actually in Pennsylvania right now dialing in, but I would love to see that. I could get it on email, and then I make sure the people at Beale that I still keep in touch with have a copy so they can understand that.
All right. I'll relay the information to Mr. Hadamia so we can forward it.
Thank you.
Through the chair. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you very much for serving in the country and protecting the West Coast. Critical, obviously, to our future. You mentioned the number of spouses that are looking for jobs. I hope that you're assisting them in connecting with Yuba County. We have something in the neighborhood of 300 available jobs in Yuba County today. Of those, there's about 50 that are at the Sheriff's Department. We are in desperate need for dispatchers. If you have any connections, it would be very valuable to us to work with them. So whatever we need to do to help you connect, please ask, and we are at your beck and call, whatever you need.
Thank you, sir. That's very good information to have, and I'll ensure that's passed on through our spouse channels as well, so they can know that's out there. I think that's one of the challenges when you move to a new community is getting plugged in and being able to find where those jobs exist. And for many spouses, just the amount of time you have there in the community and the amount of time it takes to find work sometimes makes it just such a difficult challenge to find that job and get plugged in. So I appreciate that, and I'll pass that information on.
And as an added item, I hope at the end of your career, you continue to look at Yuba County as a potential place to live. So we'd love to have you part of our community full time.
Thank you. And I think that's something that's very exciting with the work that you're doing to improve some of those areas I mentioned with the employment opportunities and the education. That's critical to bring more families, not just military, but from surrounding communities into Yuba County.
Thank you.
Through the chair, Lieutenant Colonel Cameron, thank you so much for your service to the country and for speaking this morning. I got to say that when I read your list of things you're looking for affordable housing, which Yuba County is pretty good at. But your second is, it's how good our schools are. I think someone's been talking about that, but I think that it really makes a difference. And when our second biggest employer says, our second priority for people here are their schools, the work that we do at the agency to impact the schools in Yuba County is going to have long-term economic benefit because our biggest employers are telling us that's what they need. So I just really appreciate your comments and look forward to working with you and the people of Beale to continue to make Yuba County an amazing place that all military wants to be at. Thanks.
Thank you. I know that my experience and friends that are in the process of moving right now, the first thing that we look at, those of us who have children, are what are the schools like, and that determines where we're going to live. And so the improvements that you guys are making in the primary and secondary schools in the district are immense to bring more military families into Yuba County and making that relationship strong.
Great. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel. Looks like that's it for questions. Oh, no.
We have one public comment, Mr. Chair, Jake Palumbo, online, sir, if we could.
Great.
Mr. Chair and to the supervisors, I want to say thank you to let Lieutenant Colonel Cameron brief you on his status after his departure from Beale. And I want to tell you all that he had the opportunity, mostly the rest of his classmates, mostly talked to entities like yourself in Pennsylvania, but he was wise enough to know that coming back to where his home has been many times would be helpful, useful to you and to him as well. He's learned a lot. I will tell you all that it's so important to extend your hand of friendship and your relationships to the people who come through Beale, because even though they seem migratory and temporary in time, they actually come back many times and they appreciate your friendship. So again, thank you for the wisdom to let him present at the board meeting today.
Great, thank you.
And I just have one thing to add. As a result of the efforts of Lieutenant Colonel Cameron and Lon Hadamia and Jake Palumbo and many, many other people, we are right now finalizing a memorandum of understanding between Beale, Wheatland, the Yuba Water Agency, and the UC Citrus Research Center. We're all signing the agreement to establish a research effort here in Yuba County.
It's awesome news. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Next up is item 3, receive an update from Jim Shad, City of Marysville City Manager, on the status of work and water treatments performed at Ellis Lake. Morning.
Good morning, Chair members. Jim Shad with the City of Marysville, and I was asked to give an update regarding Ellis Lake and our efforts to improve the water quality of that lake. First of all, thank you for the generous grant provided to do this. It was much appreciated. As you may know, the lake treatment consisted of 2 steps. The first step was to remove carp, which were detrimental to the lake quality. They tend to stir up the bottom of the lake and release phosphorus into the water column. The second was a treatment of the phosphorus itself. Both efforts have been completed at this point, with one caveat. I'll give one caveat as we go through this. First of all, the carp removal. Fish Bio performed the removal over 4 days, March 21st through 24th. They used electrofishing and gill netting methods to do so. They removed 253 large carp. That was about 3,000 pounds worth of fish, ranging anywhere from 14 to 33 inches. So large carp removed. In the process, they also captured a significant number of other species. Largemouth bass were the primary species caught and released. 288 largemouth bass were found in the lake. So quite a thriving lake, surprising to me somewhat. Several other species were found, 67 crappie, 4 channel catfish, 2 blue catfish, and 2 Sacramento suckers, which I had never heard of before. We did. Pardon me? Maybe. The second item was Foslock treatment, a separate company. What was their name? Aquatechnics performed that treatment, and that consisted of applying Foslock to the water to bind the free phosphates in the water and make them inert. And if you're not aware, the phosphates tend to feed the algae, which creates algae blooms, particularly when it gets warm, and is detrimental to the lake quality. It can actually cause toxins in the lake in some cases. The Aquatechnic folks came out prior to the treatment and measured the water quality, particularly the phosphorus levels. And once again, we were a little surprised in that our previous readings of phosphorus were about 120 micrograms, I believe, per gallon. We saw a third of that at about 40 gallons when they came out and remeasured. This is speculative, but I believe what may have happened is during the 15,000 pounds, they ended up treating with about half of that. And the balance of that is at our corporate yard. And we're holding on to that once to see what the phosphorus levels are after treatment. We have not measured the levels yet. That to happen this week. And once we get the results of that, we can make a choice to either treat additional with the additional materials or not do so and return the materials and be reimbursed for those costs. Very successful. I feel it was successful. Did we get all the carp? Probably not. Did we get a good sizable amount of the carp? Yes. I think keeping in mind the goal is to reduce phosphate levels. I think we're on a good track. We won't know until we have those readings, and I hope to share those with you next week at the earliest. Next steps, the next steps will be to continue to monitor the phosphorus levels. And we have some choices there. If the phosphorus levels start to build up again, there are some new products out there that we may be able to treat and minimize the phosphorus entering into the lake through the well water. So that is one option. I still do want to pursue improving the circulation in the lake because that is another component that can cause basically stagnate the water and encourage algae growth. So we will be working with the various regulators to see what it will take to circulate water through the lake from the rivers and out the slough, and looking at how we can do that and what the cost might be to do so. And we can weigh that against what it may take to treat the incoming well water and look at the operational costs of doing that. Couple of other items of note. While in between the carp removal and the treatment, our friends at Say Love went out and removed a significant amount of vegetation on the cobblestones around the lake. So that was an added bonus. And then the last item is that the Kiwanis Club will be running their fishing derby here, I think in May. I don't have the exact date, but 13th. And we're looking forward to that event.
I lied. It's the 21st, right? Thank you. Sorry.
21st? Thank you. And that's all I had to report. More than happy to try and answer questions.
Questions or comments from the board?
Through the chair. You know, 7 years ago, it seemed to me that probably one of the most important things that we could do to stimulate interest in North Yuba, Everything's North Yuba. North Yuba Dam. How about that? New Bullard's Bar was really improved the water and the quality around Ellis Lake, because so many people in this community travel, see, and touch in that particular area. So I can't be more pleased that you're in this venture to really, really clean it up. Interestingly enough, I get as many questions about this as I do the entire 5th district is about Ellis Lake and when is it going to be done and what will it look like. I really look forward to the day when the city council all decides to go swimming at the same time in Ellis Lake to show that it's ready and it's available for the public.
Well, I can encourage them to do that. I don't think we're quite there yet, but they may require me to go in with them.
I love it.
Which I'm more than happy to do. We've got a long way to go. We have some work to do on the exterior of the lake as well. A lot of the pathways have seen better days, and hoping to receive some grants through the state on that. But very, very important asset to the city, and we certainly want to make it as beautiful as an asset as possible. Thank you.
Through the chair, I just want to say thanks, Jim. I think that it's taken a long time, and I think we've collaborated as what the agency does, and we've made a partner with Marysville. And I just want to appreciate the partnership that we started and seeing the results come about, and looking forward to a beautiful lake that will continue to be the jewel, or will once again be the jewel of Marysville. So thanks.
And I will add, I wanted to thank Mr. Matthews and Mr. Blazer for all the help that they've provided, and encouragement and spirited conversation regarding the lake and the treatment.
I would like to also add that I'm probably one of the few people on this board that water skied on Ellis Lake.
Absolutely, you are.
Perhaps we'll get you out there again.
And I think that it's a possibility that we can get the lake back to the pristine condition that everyone would like.
Just wanted to thank you for coming today and providing this update and for the partnership. And I'd be happy to join the council in the water, assuming it's not a polar bear plunge. I'm not too interested in doing that in January, but any other time I'm there. I drove by the lake about a week ago. I've driven by more than that, but in particular about a week ago, and it was pretty breezy, and I don't know if that contributed to it, but the lake looked extra clean when I went by it, and I was noticeably impressed by the way it looked. So it was nice to see.
I think the true test will be the summer. See how it looks this summer. I've had several comments about the quality of the water as you look at it currently, but this is not the worst part of the season. So keep our fingers crossed.
Okay.
And I will volunteer to come take pictures of you jumping in the water. I can't wait to do that.
Hi, Jim. I just have one quick question. So this process, from what I understand, is like maybe a 3 to 5 year interim fix, or we can just do the same thing again while we try to figure out a source of water to flush through the lake, maybe from the Yuba River.
Yes, the time frame they gave us was a 3-year type application process, but I can expound upon that. You know, we'll measure the water quality frequently, probably 2 times a year as a minimum. It's relatively inexpensive, but what is promising is if we are able to treat the water as it comes out of the well, that may eliminate any treatment of the lake itself. The water will have the phosphates removed before it enters into the water column. So that to me is promising and would be an optimal short-term solution. I still think, as Mr. Matthews has drilled into my head, we need circulation in the lake. And so I think we need to also continue to pursue that avenue as well.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is item 4, Consider approval of Amendment 1 to the Yuba County Water Agency and Ramirez Water District Water Supply Agreement for an additional 3,000 acre feet of project-based supply. Morning, Ryan.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, excuse me. Ryan McNally, your Director of Water Resources and Flood Risk Reduction. So before you this morning is a request from the Ramirez Water District to amend their water supply agreement, adding 3,000 acre feet to their existing 30,389 acre feet of project-based supply. This was an agreement that was negotiated in 2016 along with the other 7 member units. The request comes from a landowner who has reached out to Ramirez to begin purchasing water from the district after having been served by BVID as an out-of-district customer for decades. The 2 parcels in question are contiguous, 2 parcels located within BVID, and BVID has historically sold water to the connected out-of-district parcels at the request of the landowner as a matter of convenience. So if that, just to put it more simply, these parcels are connected. However, the district lines split the parcels. So half the parcels are in Ramirez, half are in BVID. Over the last several decades, they've just been served by BVID for convenience because it's easier to get BVID water. However, in 2021, unprecedented shortages in the surface water supplies forced BVID to cut all out-of-district deliveries, which is fairly common for BVID to do, while they still imposed a 25% reduction in surface water deliveries to the remaining in-district customers. So in short, when water is short or there's a restriction in supplies, BVID cuts their in-district or their out-of-district customers first. So this denial of service is what motivated the landowner to approach Ramirez, who actually is legally compelled to provide the water since it's within Ramirez's district boundaries. So this request would not create any new water other than what we see on paper in the contract because it's been irrigated from the Yuba River for decades. And in fact, last year, Ramirez only delivered 8,400 acre feet of surface water, which is far short of their 30,389 acre feet contract. This request has been vetted by our legal and technical teams who see no fatal flaws or impacts to surface water supplies moving forward. And any shortages to surface water supplies resulting from hydrology, like we saw in 2021, are subject to reductions based on a percentage of historical use over the past 15 years. So there would be no potential for injury to the other member units. I've also spoken with the other member units, and they are all in concurrence with the request and agreed that 3,000 acre feet will not create much of an impact, especially again since it's for rice that's already been in production for decades. So this morning, we're just looking for board action to give the general manager the authority to sign the amendment as prepared by legal counsel.
So moved.
Second. We have a first and a second. Any public comment on this item?
Mr. Chairman, this is, I'm a rice farmer. I farm in all 4 districts. This is a very good move because it will also free up more water on their pump line ditch. So it's a win for everyone.
Thank you. Looks like we have some public comment online as well.
Yep, we do. Just one. You unmute your line. There you go.
Thank you. Hello, this is Marieke Verney. I just want to let you know that I'm really impressed with the presentation of Mr. McNally, and I would hope that as easy it is to arrange for more water for BVID, there's a day that it will be as easy, that it will be that easy to arrange for water for North Yuba's customers that are left to eat dirt. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If no additional board comment, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, manager's report. Terry, I think that's you today, right?
Yes, it's me today. I just wanted to comment that our general manager is absent because he is providing public comment at the California State Water Resources Control Board meeting this morning in Sacramento. So the agency continues to operate in compliance with OSHA, FERC, NERC standards. Currently, New Bullard's Bar Reservoir is at about 750,000 acre feet. We're at 100% of normal storage year to date. We've had about 500,000 acre feet inflow since October 1st, but we're still only about 65% of average inflow year to date. There's quite a bit of information about the impacts of the drought on our operations that you can see in your report. And I will add that the report is always added to the agenda and the minutes for members of the public if they wanted to go in and read the manager's report afterwards. I will just say that even with the recent rains, we might see slightly improved conditions in the short term, but will not have significant impact to the drought status overall. For really exciting news, on Tuesday, April 12th, the United States Department of Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack and the U.S. Forest Service Chief Randy Moore announced that the North Yuba River watershed is one of just 10 landscape programs funded under the U.S. Forest Service's initial 10-year wildfire crisis strategy implementation. Launched earlier this year, the strategy outlines the need to treat up to an additional 20 million acres of national forest lands and up to an additional 30 million acres of other federal, state, tribal, private, and family lands over the next decade. The approximate 330,000 acre North Yuba River landscape will receive significant federal investment beginning this year as part of the strategy. The strategy will provide $6.8 million in funding to treat 4,500 acres in 2022 and an expected $25 million in funding in 2023-24. And it will allow the treatment of an additional 16,900 acres. This funding will go towards increasing the pace and scale of the projects that the North Yuba Forest Partnership has been working on since we signed the MOU in 2019. The inclusion of the North Yuba River in this initial investment is a testament to our partnership, demonstrating that we are effective at the landscape scale and able to get this important and impactful work done. On April 8th, we participated in a field tour hosted by Trilla at the request of the Central Valley Flood Protection Board. The group visited many of the levee infrastructure and habitat enhancement projects that have been completed over the past several years within Yuba County. The event, from what I hear, was very well attended and very successful. We have several positions that are on an operational level. We have several positions that are still posted that we're looking for in HR, including an elect tech, a supervising elect tech, a senior hydro engineer, procurement supervisor, and an environmental specialist. Happy to report that an environmental health and safety officer has accepted our offer and starts as soon as he clears everything, but is expected to start in early May. And the 2022 internship program recruitment has kicked off, and we already have our first intern candidate going through the screening process right now and should start with us shortly. In communications, Joanna Lassard was featured in a Capitol Public Radio story shared with other regional NPR affiliates about the Watershed Resilience Program and the use of a new tool to fast-track CEQA that has been successful for us. Upcoming community events that we haven't mentioned previous is we have a booth that we're staffing at the Earth Day celebration at the Yuba Environmental Science Charter School on Saturday, the 23rd. On April 28th, there's a handful of us that are going to Sacramento to receive the Sacramento Business Journal's Corporate Citizenship Award. We were nominated for that award by Blue Forest Conservation, and we are one of the 2022 champions of the environment. We're sponsoring the Aqua Conference, or one of the sponsors of the Aqua Conference, the first week of May, as well as the Fairway to Health Ride Out Health Foundation event on May 5th and 6th, and the Alliance for Hispanic Advancements event featuring Mariachi Bonitas on May 6th. Then on May 13th, we're sponsoring the Yuba-Sutter Together We're Better golf tournament. Finally, on May 14th, we're sponsoring the Marysville Taco Festival. We all have plenty to do in the next month or so. And on Friday, Willie will be participating as a speaker in a panel discussion at the American Society of Civil Engineers Symposium on Equity in Resilient Infrastructure for a Better Future in San Francisco. The panel will focus on improving watershed resilience. So just as a reminder, we do not have a board meeting on May 3rd because of the Aqua Conference and Cap to Cap, I believe. And so our next board meeting will be May 17th. And that's the tentative date also for the next pod committee meeting, which will be reviewing the recommendation on grants.
Awesome. Any questions?
I'd like to comment the group of the agency that does the water planning for selling power did an unbelievable job. We have less power, obviously, because of the drought, but the average of what they were able to maintain by knowing when to make power and when not to is substantially over the CAISO average. I just wanted to compliment their group that does this. It's very beneficial in the multi-million dollars that we gained in a month like this.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay.
Terry, quick question. When's the Aqua Conference again?
The first week in May 2nd through 5th.
And that's in Sacramento?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. Next up, board member reports. Director Vasquez.
Yes, I'd like to see if the board would consent to putting on an item, the next board meeting, requesting the appearance of North Yuba Water District manager. And up for discussion is the current events that are occupying probably 35 to 40 minutes of every meeting we got. And apparently people are having a hard time getting together on that. And I think the board needs to step up and say, okay, let's take a look at what we're dispersing to the North Yuba Water District, and let's rein in on that and bring it out for discussion.
So if I understand your request, let me see if what I interpreted that you'd like us to send an invite to the general manager of the North Yuba Water District to give a presentation at our next meeting that would maybe detail the progress of grant dollars that we've provided to the agency, as well as maybe plans to get water to the Oregon House and Dobbins area. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'm certainly in favor of that. Just from a nod of heads from board members, is that something that we wish to send an invite for? Okay.
Okay. I'd also like to see if we could maybe come up with an ad hoc committee to find out the legality of getting involved with some of the drainage projects and possibly phasing out septic systems to protect the groundwater, and see what we can legally do as a water agency.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. I just wasn't sure if maybe that was best served as two ad hoc committees or one ad hoc committee. That was why I think I had a puzzled look on my face.
I think
but either's
go
fine.
hand in hand.
Okay.
As far as legality in the Agency Act. So.
Sure. So are there some volunteers? I'm sure that Director Fuhrer would wish to be on that committee. Is there another director that would be interested in joining him?
Gary, I'd be glad to. I'm waiting to get off my septic system. So
okay.
Yeah.
Given that I think a lot of those are in, I know there's some efforts in the Arboga area. I know that would be great. So I'll appoint Director Fuhrer and Director Hasty to that ad hoc committee.
Mr. Chairman, I think that Andy is also in the drainage area down there, since we can have three on the ad hoc committee. I would recommend that also.
I would like to be on that because we have a number of those in Linda.
Thank you. I forgot that I can appoint 3 to a water agency committee, so I get used to the Board of Supervisors where I can only appoint 2. So I think that's a great idea, Andy, and I apologize you brought it up, and I didn't even put you on the committee to begin with. So my apologies for that, and I'd be glad to have you on that as well.
All right, look over your shoulder.
Anything else?
That'll do it. That would be a great deal.
Director Blazer?
Just wanted to thank Jim Shadigan for his presentation, and it's really encouraging after 30 or 40 years that maybe we're making some progress on this. So he kind of stole my thunder. I usually talk about carp, but he beat me to it. So thanks.
Director Fuhr? No? Okay. Director Hasty?
Yeah, a couple things. One, the article that Joanna Joanna was in, I just want to say it's impressive because the article was literally about how this CEQA project was not working. And I want to once again commend our team that what other people think can't happen or doesn't work, our team makes them successful. So I just wanted to commend her and thank the team for that. I can't tell you how proud I was when we saw the email in regards to the federal funding for the forest management. It was like, I'll be up front. It was almost brought a tear to my eye because we started that sitting in this very room saying, let's do Blue Forest. We did that first project, and I remember telling Willie, this is the start, that little 15,000 acre, we've got to do a full watershed man. We want to be the first in the state. And to see us just a few years later be one of 10 sites in the United States getting funding from the Federal Forest Service as a landscape project, it was just like, wow. The things that can come from this dais and from the team that we have built are just unbelievable. And so I just can't thank this team enough. This would not have happened. We may be excited about it up here, but it's your guys' passion that literally moved these projects. And I just can't thank you enough. It's so impressive. And with that, I would say thank you.
Director Matthews?
Expanding a little bit, the average price of CAISO was $46 last month, and the group came in with $110 by giving the power at the proper time. The other thing is I would like to go off of what Andy did is that we've heard a tremendous amount of problem of trying to get water to North Yuba. I'm not sure an ad hoc committee would help, but if we've had so much interest in it, I think that the ad hoc committee working with the manager might be able to shed light and not we're trying to dictate how another board operates, but daylight is a great motivator to make things happen. And I think having an ad hoc committee might help put daylight on this situation.
Okay. Sarah, comment?
I don't disagree with that. My only challenge would be we want daylight on it. It just ought to go to one of the regular committees so that they actually have to be in open session and it's fully in daylight, because that seems to be one of our challenges. And that seems to be a challenge from the people that we get reports from all the time, is that it's done in meetings where they can't be at. And so I totally agree that we need to focus on it. And I'm happy with an ad hoc, it's fine, but I just want to point out it could go to a regular committee and it would be in an open meeting and it would be in the daylight. And if that's where we want it, that's where we should put it.
Yeah. My reason for ad hoc is that it's a special committee, so it meets the qualification. The ad hoc committee also has the ability to advertise when they're going to have meetings, but it also has the ability to meet with the manager privately if we thought that would work. By being ad hoc, the committee has the ability to do both. And I would urge that we do an ad hoc rather than that.
Okay.
Through the chair, I really would like a set date for North Yuba Water to come down and discuss this. The can's been kicked down the road for many months, and let's bring it to light.
Well, I think we're going to invite them to our next meeting.
But
it will be up to them whether, they're available to come and do that.
Yeah, I don't want to hide behind any postponement. I would like to see it now.
The next meeting is until the 17th of May.
Right.
They might need help before. So if you appoint the ad hoc committee, they could be a lifeline to do something before May 17th. So I would urge you to appoint an ad hoc like you did for this house.
I'm not for that. I would like to see them come down.
I don't think in my mind, it's not an either or. That's not how I was interpreting that. It was a both. Is that assuming that the direction is both? Does that alleviate your concerns?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's.
Through the chair, I was just going to say, I know that Willie met with Jeff and Crystal. Is he going to give us an update? I mean, I know he's not here. So do you have an update or should we?
I think
that's fine. That's fine. Okay. I know he's working on it, so I'd like to hear how that went, but that's great. I'm fine with it.
Okay. So
you're not already on it.
Okay. Yeah. So Director Matthews,
I talked to Willie since he's done it. I was cautious about maybe not having an ad hoc. But when I realized their next meeting isn't until almost the end of May, I think that, obviously following Willie's lead, that he would have an ad hoc committee to work with it.
Okay. As the North District Director, it would be appropriate to have you on it. Okay. And would the Director from the 5th District be interested as well?
I'm at your disposal.
Okay. And then if there's no other volunteers, I know I'd be happy to be on it as well. But if there is, I'd be happy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll appoint myself, Director Fletcher, and Director Matthews to that committee. So
is this about North Yuba Water District as a subject and scope, just so I understand? Okay,
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think the particular, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Director Matthews, but I think the purpose of the committee is probably to figure out how to get irrigation water to Oregon House and Dobbins, how we can be a partner in that. Let me rephrase that and make sure it's phrased correctly, how we can be a partner in that.
Yes.
Okay.
The object is to get water, but we have to work with all the people that are involved in it. And that might be, we want to try.
Okay. Certainly. Okay.
And I thank all the people on both sides of these issues to work with everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. Director Fletcher.
So I want to thank Dee Dee for setting me up for a speaking engagement in Napa. I believe that's coming on May the 6th, 5th, 6th. I think it's in there. Blue Forest and some discussion of what's happened in the foothills. I do believe we're kind of the leader in the field and what's happened there. It took a long time, but I think it's well worth it following with Brent. Makes sense. And Terry, I just want to clarify the article from the U.S. Department of Agriculture left us with $3 million in North Yuba River watershed. Is this the same grant that you're talking about? Just the numbers are not quite as clear in this article.
Yes, that's correct. I had that same question this morning. I trust the numbers that are in our report and are in our news release that came out. I think it's just a timing issue.
I trust your numbers as well. So maybe they will correct this one, but either way, extremely important for our foothills. So it's coming. Thanks.
Just wanted to let the board know that tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. GSEC will be hosting a webinar, what's on the horizon in Yuba County. So they'll be focusing on Yuba County and all the great things going on here. They'll have speakers from Yuba County, including Director Fletcher as chair of the board, speaker from Yuba Water Agency. I'll be speaking on behalf of the agency as chair of the board, and also speakers from the city of Marysville and the city of Wheatland to discuss everything that's going on. So it'll be very exciting. The target is really the Sacramento region and folks in the Sacramento region, particularly maybe folks interested in economic development and growing their business potentially here in Yuba County. So I have a link for people to sign up if they're interested. It's virtual meeting. And so you can reach out to me or I can just send it out to the board. That might be okay. Okay, we'll do that. So, and I think that's it. So we will adjourn the meeting. I will remind everyone we have a special meeting over at the Water Agency office that was scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. So as soon as board members are able to get over there, we can call that meeting to order, and staff, obviously. So workshop. Thank you.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.